The children had been so interested in what their godfather had given them that they didn't notice a little figure leaning against a tree. "Why, father?" shouted Maury. "What a strange little fellow he is! What is he meant to do?" "That," replied the father, "is your Nutcracker man. He will work hard for you and crack all the nuts you give him. All he asks is that you treat him well." Mary took him into her hands and examined the little fellow. His whole body was made of wood, and his queer little face, with its high cheekbones and cunning little cap and beard, reminded one of some little dwarf that was once a prince, as the fairy tales tell us. Just below his head were two long legs, not side by side like yours and mine, but one in front of the other. Maury's father took the Nutcracker from her hand to show her how it worked. He pulled one leg away from the other, and that made the mouth open wide. Into the mouth he put the nut, then pressed the legs together once more, and crack! The nut was cracked. Fritz was so delighted that he too wanted to crack some nuts, and after the Nutcracker had cracked more than a dozen, Fritz picked up a very large nut, so large that he could hardly push the nut into the Nutcracker's mouth. He pressed down upon the legs with all the force he had, and, oh dear, he broke poor little Nutcracker's jaw. "Oh, Fritz, Fritz!" screamed Marie. "You naughty brother, you have hurt my poor little Nutcracker man." She bound his jaw with her own little handkerchief and held him tightly in her arms. She then went up into their playroom, took her best doll from its bed, and put the Nutcracker man in her place. As she tucked the covers in around his little body, she said, "Oh, poor little fellow." When Marie came back to the living room again, Godfather Drosselmeyer said it was time to go home, and Marie's mother ordered the children to bed, but Marie begged so hard to stay up a while longer that her mother said, "You may have your wish, but do not stay up too long." Marie returned to her playroom again to look once more at the little Nutcracker. His eyes seemed to look right into her eyes, and his lips seemed almost to move. She picked up the bed that held the Nutcracker and placed it upon the top shelf of a large glass cupboard that was in the playroom. In the cupboard were many things stored away that Santa Claus and Godfather Drosselmeyer had brought from time to time, soldiers and a cannon, and dolls of many kinds, also gingerbread ladies and gentlemen, and candy toys of every description. While Marie was standing in front of the glass cupboard, she heard the strangest noise, just like whispers and rustling of leaves, and then again it seemed like the crackling of the paper on the wall. And what do you think she saw? A whole army of mice! Out from the wall, from behind the stove, from under the chairs, yes, From everywhere, nothing but mice. She became terribly frightened. "What shall I do?" she screamed. Just then, the Nutcracker man threw back the covers of the bed and out he jumped. "Come, come," said he. "Let us rid this place of these horrid mice." And out of that cupboard marched soldiers and captains, majors and generals. Even the cannon rolled along on the floor. And right in front of it all rushed one mouse much larger than the rest. This mouse had 7 heads instead of 1, and on each head there rested a crown. This mouse yelled at the top of his voice, "I am the Mouse King, and will get what I want, or there will be war." The little Nutcracker man took the bandage from his head, and oh, how strong he seemed as he called upon all to help him. The Mouse King came right up to Marie and demanded that she give him some of her toys, her candies, her books. Yes, even her new silk dress. Mary became so frightened. She drew her slipper from her foot and threw it right at the head of the Mouse King. By doing so, she knocked her elbow through the glass pane of the door and fell to the floor in a faint. Far in the distance, one could hear the drummer boy beat the tattoo, the tramp of the soldiers and the cavalry, and she could see toy cannon and wagon, and gingerbread men, and the Nutcracker general leading them all. My, what a battle that was! It was more terrible than I can tell you. From every corner, from the floor, from the wall, from everywhere came mice, and more mice, and still more mice. Above all the squeaks of those many, many mice, could be heard the voice of the faithful little Nutcracker man as he called upon the rest of the gingerbread ladies and gentlemen that were quietly resting on a shelf in the glass cupboard. They too marched down upon the battlefield, and so did all the other toy men and women that had been waiting in the cupboard for many years. The numerous soldiers that Fritz had gathered from one Christmas to another, together with their majors and generals, all marched upon the field to help the Nutcracker man, and as the toy cannon shot off their candy and gingerbread bullets, you should have seen how those mice fell. the Mouse King became very angry because he saw that he would lose this battle. So he made one awful jump at the Nutcracker man. But the Nutcracker man was ready. He had a little sword hanging at his side that one of Fritz's soldiers had given him. And with this he made one leap and whack right on the neck of that Mouse King, and off fell his 7 heads with their 7 crowns, and the battle was at an end.